This happened just a few days ago. I'm back in my small hometown for Christmas. I came to help my mom get ready for the holiday. She needed me, and I always liked the lights and cookies. It should have felt cozy, but something felt off. I can't explain why, but it was like the cheer in the air had a hidden edge. When I got there, the village looked straight out of a Christmas card. Every house was covered in fresh snow. People were chatting and laughing, but my stomach twisted. My childhood memories were flooding back, but I felt a chill that didn't belong. That first night, I went up to the attic to look for Christmas decorations. I found an old teddy bear, covered in dust. It was my favorite as a kid. When I squeezed it, some stuffing fell out. As I was setting it down, I knocked it against the wall. I swear I heard a small laugh echo in response. I froze. I thought maybe it was my mind playing tricks, but it stuck with me. The next day, while Mom was baking cookies, I ventured back up to the attic. The light flickered, and shadows danced around me. It was an old attic, I told myself. Then I saw a shadow zip by the window below. Heart racing, I hurried downstairs, but no one was there. "Mom?" I called, but she didn't hear me. Later, Mom mentioned a little boy who had been visiting. My skin crawled. I asked her who he was, but she seemed confused. "Yes, just a boy," she said. I didn't know what she meant. Maybe she just got mixed up. I shook it off, but a knot formed in my stomach. That third night, while sitting with Mom, I felt something bump against my leg. My glass tipped over. I looked down, expecting the teddy bear, but it was gone. Cold air rushed past me, and then I heard a whisper. It was a child's voice softly saying my name. I called out, but no one answered. I was scared. I didn't understand what was happening. I thought I might be imagining it, but when Mom brought up the boy again, my heart sank. This Christmas wasn't unfolding like I expected. Then there was a soft knock on the window. I turned, but no one stood there. Every time I went back upstairs, things felt different. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind or if something was truly trying to reach me. The last thing that happened was the hardest to shake. I was reading in the living room. The lights dimmed for a moment, and a shiver ran down my spine. I felt as if someone was right behind me. I turned slowly, and that's when I saw it. A small shadow flitting in the corner of my eye. I blinked, and it was gone. I couldn't tell if it was just my imagination, but I knew I wasn't alone. All the memories from my childhood, now twisted into something I couldn't understand. As I sat there, I thought about the boy Mom mentioned and the teddy bear that no longer laughed. I felt a deep unease. I didn't want to think about what it all meant. I didn't want to stay in that house another minute, but Christmas wasn't over yet. I barely slept that night. My mind spun with thoughts about the little boy and what was happening in the house. The shadows felt deeper, and my dreams were haunted by whispers. Each time I closed my eyes, I could almost hear my name calling from the attic. The next morning, I decided I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to figure out what was going on. After breakfast, I told Mom I was going to take a walk in town, but really, I planned to visit the library. I wanted to dig into whatever history there was about our town. Maybe there was something about the boy that could explain his presence. The library smelled like old wood and dust. I sifted through the archives, looking for anything that might help me. I found newspaper clippings about the town's founding, old school events, and pictures of families long gone. Hours passed, and I was lost in a whirlwind of forgotten stories. And then I stumbled upon it, a faded article tucked in between 2 volumes. It spoke of a boy who had vanished one Christmas Eve decades ago. His name was Andrew. The details were sparse, but the words disappearance and search parties caught in my throat. People had searched for him, but he was never found. I felt a chill wash over me as the realization hit. Was this the boy Mom had mentioned? Was he trying to reach out to me? The questions flooded my senses. I had to get back home and confront whatever was happening. As I walked down the path to our house, the air felt heavier. The sky had turned dark, and a wind picked up. I hurried inside, but as I closed the door, I felt a presence wash over me. I brushed it off, chalking it up to nerves. Later that evening, Mom was in the kitchen preparing dinner. I gathered my courage and brought up Andrew. The moment I spoke his name, she froze. "What do you know about him?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. I told her about the newspaper article and what I had found. She looked uneasy. "He used to come visit us," she admitted. "Back when you were little. I thought he was just a figment of your imagination." My heart raced. Why would I imagine someone who has gone? Mom shook her head. "I thought he was a friend, but something happened. I could never find him again after that Christmas." Before I could respond, the lights flickered again, and everything went dim. My heart raced as I gripped the table. "Mom, did you see that?" Then came the tap, tap, tap on the window. We both turned, tension thick in the air. Outside, the snow whirled wildly, and shadows danced fitfully. "Stay here," she said, her voice low but steady. She moved toward the window, but I couldn't just stand there. I followed, desperation clawing at me. That S when I saw it. A small figure standing just beyond the glass, face obscured by swirling snow. I blinked, and it was gone. "Mom!" I screamed. The room felt colder, and I knew things were about to get worse. I stepped back. The truth was dawning on me. Andrew wanted something. But what? The chill in the air didn't dissipate after I saw the figure. It lingered, wrapping around me like an unsettling blanket. I looked at my mom, her face pale and drawn. This was no longer just about an old story. It felt personal now. "Should we call someone?" I stammered, my voice tense. The tapping continued, rhythmic and unsettling. The snowstorm raged outside, but inside, the air felt still and heavy. Mom shook her head slowly, her eyes wide. "I think it's better we don't." "Not yet." "Then what do we do?" I asked. "We can't just ignore it." Mom took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "If Andrew is reaching out to you, maybe he wants to communicate in a way we don't understand." "What does that even mean?" I said, pacing as the fear coiled tighter. "What does a little boy want from us? Why now?" She looked out the window, the flickering light casting eerie shadows across her face. "He was my friend, and I thought he was gone. But maybe he feels lost and needs help to move on." Just then, a loud crash came from the attic, making us jump. A heavy thud followed by silence weighed heavily on my chest. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart pounding. Mom nodded, and her expression hardened. "Yes, it's now or never." The storm continued its furious assault as she moved toward the attic door. I hesitated. What if it's something dangerous? We can't back down. If Andrew is up there, we owe it to him. Her voice was steady, but I could see the flicker of fear behind her resolve. I felt a tug of nerves, but followed her. The attic stairs creaked under our weight as we climbed. When we reached the top, a wave of cold air hit us. The room was dimly lit by the single bulb hanging from the ceiling, swaying slightly as if in a hidden breeze. "Andrew?" Mom called softly. Her voice echoed, but there was no response. Just the sound of the storm and a creeping sense of dread. As we stepped further inside, I noticed something on the floor, a small toy car, blue and faded. I picked it up, the letters AG engraved on the bottom. It was Andrew S., I realized. A chilling shiver ran down my spine. Suddenly, the light flickered and went out, leaving us in darkness. My breath caught in my throat as I gripped the toy tightly. "Mom?" I whispered, but there was no answer. Panic surged through me. "Mom!" I stumbled around the attic, trying to find her in the blackness. The air felt charged with something unseen, and then I heard it, a faint giggle, soft and echoing. The sound crawled under my skin. At that moment, I felt a rush of cold like a breeze passing through me. I dropped the toy, and adrenaline shot through my veins. "Mom, we need to leave." I finally found her arm, and we began moving toward the exit. But the giggle turned into a loud, echoing laugh, filling the attic with an unnatural sound. The door slammed shut behind us. In the dark, something began to stir. The darkness swallowed us whole. I heard my heart pounding in my ears as I pressed against Mom, searching for the way back. "What's happening?" I whispered, my voice barely a sound against the heavy silence. "I don't know," She replied, her voice shaky. Stay close. The cold air turned icy, and I could almost feel it swirling around us like a storm. I stumbled back, grasping at the dread that now sat thick in the air. The giggling morphed into a chorus of whispers, circling us, echoing. Help me find me, Mom, I want to go. I begged, fear overtaking my voice. Okay, just stay calm. She turned, frustration clawing at her sanity. If only I could see. I inched closer to her, trying to remember the layout of the room. Then, in the murky darkness, something glinted. I squinted, breath quickening. It was a figure emerging from the shadows, a small silhouette against the faint light creeping in from the doorway. Andrew? Mom called out. Her voice trembled like a candle flame in the wind. The figure moved closer, and I held my breath. I felt paralyzed. It looked like a boy, but more than his fading outline. I could see a pair of sad eyes looking right at me. I recognized that face, but seeing it again felt like stepping into a nightmare. This wasn't the innocent boy I had seen in pictures. This was something else entirely. Can you help me? He whispered, his small voice haunting. I'm lost. Not again, Mom murmured, shaking her head. Why now, Andrew? I stammered. What do you want? My fear mingled with an odd feeling of empathy. This was a boy, and he seemed scared just like me. Suddenly, the light returned, flooding the space with harsh brightness. I shielded my eyes, blinking away the spots. When the world came back into focus, the boy was gone, and I felt a rush of confusion. Where did he go? I asked, but all I heard was the storm still howling outside. Mom cupped her hands over her mouth. We have to get to the bottom of this, she said. We can't ignore Andrew's call. I just wanted to get out of there, away from the memories, the laughter, the voice. Is he really asking for help? Or is this just a game? Before she could answer, the attic door creaked open on its own. A figure stood silhouetted in the frame, but it wasn't Andrew. Who's there? Mom called out, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. An icy laugh echoed, sending chills down my spine. I squinted against the glare of the light and saw him, another boy, older, with a shadowy grin that felt impossible to ignore. More to find, he said, his voice dark and playful. You're part of the game now. My stomach dropped. Before I could process what he meant, the room began to flicker again, light and shadow chasing each other. The laughter grew louder, swelling like a tide of uncertainty. Mom! I screamed, grabbing her arm, but the darkness seeped in once more. I knew we needed to leave, but something held me in place, a force I couldn't understand. We're not done here yet, the older boy said, stepping further into the light. That's when I realized we weren't just dealing with one spirit. There were others in the attic, and they all wanted something from us. Chapter 2. I could feel the weight of the older boy's gaze, a mix of challenge and mischief. His grin widened as if feeding off our fear. I wanted to scream, to turn and run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Mom squeezed my arm, her fingers digging into my skin. What do you want? She demanded, her voice steadier than I felt. The boy leaned closer, shadows flickering across his face. You should come play with us. Play? I echoed, my voice shaking. You mean Andrew? Andrew's looking for something, he replied, tilting his head just enough to reveal an unsettling glimmer in his eyes. Just like all of us. Before I could decipher what he meant, the sounds from the darkness twisted into a low hum, pulling at me like a siren song. The whispers had transformed, they no longer sounded desperate. Now they beckoned, enticing me to step further into the unknown. Don't listen to them, Mom urged, pulling me backward. Her voice was frantic, filled with a fear I could see reflected in her wide eyes. But it was too late. The shadows crept closer, slithering around my legs. I felt a heaviness in the air, like invisible hands trying to pull me down. We can help you find your way, the boy said, his tone now almost soft, sweet. I remembered Andrew's sad eyes, his plea for help. What does he need? He just wants to be free. A shiver ran through me at the words. The boy pointed toward the back of the attic, where the darkness was deepest. But first you need to see. My heart pounded. I glanced at Mom, searching her face for guidance, but she was staring, transfixed by the boy. "Don't go," she muttered, but it came out more like a prayer than a command. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut, plunging us into deeper darkness. A muffled laugh echoed, and I felt the shadows swirl, disorienting me. Chaos erupted. I heard the whispering grow louder, and just as I thought I might scream, light burst forth again, illuminating the entire attic. It was a jumble of toys and clothes, but in that chaos, I saw something that sent a chill down my spine. It was a faded photograph lying in the corner, half buried under an old blanket. I hadn't noticed it before. Hesitant, I turned toward it, and with every step, the laughter dimmed. The boy and the shadows receded into the periphery. Kneeling down, my heart raced as I pushed the blanket aside. The picture was worn but clear enough to recognize. It was Andrew, smiling widely, surrounded by other children, each face bright and innocent. Only now, I noticed that one child had a vacant expression, their eyes like two dark voids. "Mom, look," I called out, lifting the photograph toward her. Before she could answer, the older boy reappeared by my side, his smirk gone. "You shouldn't have found that," he hissed. Panicking, I dropped the picture. The floor seemed to vibrate beneath me, and the shadows swelled once more. "We have to go now," Mom shouted, her voice cutting through the rising chaos. But I hesitated, eyes glued to the picturesque, unsettling detail. That S when I realized the truth, it wasn't just Andrew we were searching for. We were walking deeper into something much darker than I could have ever imagined. Chapter 3. The laughter faded, but the air still crackled with tension. I looked up from the floor, my mouth dry, heart hammering. The older boy stood there, eyes unblinking and sharp, like a predator sizing up its prey. "You opened the door," he said, his tone flat. "Now you need to decide." "Decide what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The shadows flickered around us, restless. Mom stepped closer, her eyes darting between the boy and the corner where the photograph lay. "We need to leave now." Her urgency pushed me into motion, but the boy raised a hand, and the shadows seemed to thicken around us. "You can't just leave," he taunted. "Not after you've seen." "Seen what?" I demanded, hoping to buy us time. That photograph burned in my memory, a forgotten secret. I realized. The child with the void-like eyes had tethered me to this place, whatever it was. "The truth," he said almost sadly. "About Andrew. About all of us." The weight of his words pressed down on me. A chill crept up my spine. "What happened to you?" There was a flicker of something almost human in his gaze, but it faded quickly. He took a step back, motioning toward the darkest part of the attic. "Not here. You have to find him." Mom let out a small, panicked gasp. "We should not listen to him," she pleaded. "We don't know what any of this means." "No," the boy said, his voice low and sharp. "You want to know what it means. You're just too scared to admit it." I swallowed hard. The calm in his voice was unsettling, but something about his words pulled at me, like a string I couldn't ignore. "Andrew did he? It's not what you think." The boy interrupted, stepping forward again, his shadow elongating against the wooden beams. "He just wanted to play, like the others. But he got lost along the way." The shadows twitched, almost alive, and I felt a pull in my chest. "Lost? Forever," he said simply, smirking. "You can help him, you know. You just have to let go of your fears." Mom grabbed my wrist, pulling me away from the boy. "No, we're leaving." Panic surged through her voice, and I felt torn. A tug of war between instinct and curiosity. "Mom, wait." I resisted, my gaze fixed on the boy. "Don't look at him. Don't listen," she shouted back, terror painted on her face. But that's when I saw it. Right beside the shadows, an outline began to clarify, a figure, shrouded in darkness. The swirling shadows took a more defined shape. I could see now that it wasn't just nothing. Someone was there. The fear in my gut twisted as the figure began to materialize, taking on the form of a child. Their features blurred, but I could see the empty gaze. "Help us find Andrew," they whispered, their voice like a soft breeze. Yes, just waiting. Before I could respond, the boy snapped his fingers, and the laughter returned, echoing with an eerie glee. The room seemed to spin, the world around me warping. Make your choice, he said, his smirk growing again. Or lose everything. In that moment, I realized we might not be who we thought we were. And that revelation unleashed a new wave of dread, pulling me toward a truth I wasn't ready to face. Chapter 4. My head spun. The boy's laughter echoed in my ears, twisting into something sinister. I felt my mom's grip tighten on my wrist, but the pull from the shadows was stronger. We have to go, she repeated, her voice trembling. Mom, wait, I shouted, breaking free from her grasp, the words spilling out before I could think. I took a step toward the figure, feeling drawn to it. I need to know. The child in the shadows tilted its head, its eyes drawing me in even more. They seemed filled with sorrow. You're so close, it whispered again. Help us find Andrew. He needs you. No, Mom yelled, panic rising in her voice, but I didn't turn back. Couldn't. The urgency in the child's voice felt like a lifeline, like a thread to a mystery that gnawed at my insides. My heart raced as I stepped further into the darkness. As I approached, the attic transformed. Dust motes swirled, and the corners of the room seemed to bend and warp. I looked at the boy, still standing aloof, his grin wide and consuming. Time to decide, he repeated, savoring each word. What do you want from us? I demanded. He chuckled softly, merging with the shadows. Just a game. A chance for truth. Or a chance to walk away. His eyes glinted with mischief, and I felt a chill settle in my chest. The thrill of curiosity fought against the instinct to run. Mom kept shouting for me to come back, but it was like listening to someone scream underwater. All that mattered was breaking through the fog that enveloped this place. I turned my gaze back to the child. What do I need to do? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Find Andrew, they said. He lost gone. But he still here. In that moment I understood. I was playing a part in something bigger, but the stakes felt higher than ever. Then it hit me. Moments, fragments of memories, flickered in my mind, snippets of laughter. Games played in the attic. Andrew, my friend from years ago, before everything changed. I felt a spark of panic. This isn't just a game. It was real. What happened? The boy laughed again, and the shadows around me twisted and curled. You tell me, he said, his voice rich with amusement. You'll find the truth soon enough if you dare. With that, the child faded, dissolving into the air. I blinked, and suddenly, the darkness felt deeper, darker than before. A creaking sound echoed through the attic, sending shivers down my spine. Mom! I shouted, but my voice barely carried over the shifting shadows. That's when I noticed it. In the corner where the photograph had once been, a light flickered. A faint glow pulsed, beckoning me. Help us. Find him. The whispering shadows repeated, growing more insistent. My pulse quickened as I approached the source, curiosity igniting fear into a fire. I needed to know who Andrew was now, why he needed our help. I reached out, my fingers brushing against something cool and solid, and then everything went black. Dread clawed at me and I stumbled back. I was not just losing the world around me, I was losing myself in it. Would I find Andrew? Or would I become just another shadow? The question hung in the air, unanswered, as dread took root and grew. Chapter 5. The darkness was thick, almost like a heavy blanket. I couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything except the pounding of my own heart. I felt wildly disoriented, as if I'd been thrown into another world. Then, slowly, a faint light flickered back into view. It was weak but familiar, a soft glow in the corners of my vision. I blinked, and the attic began to emerge from the shadows. The dusty old furniture regained its shape, and that unsettling laughter still echoed, now a lingering whisper that fed my unease. Andrew, I murmured, testing the name on my tongue. Where are you? The light shifted, guiding my gaze across the room until it landed near the old trunk in the corner. It was dusty and worn, the kind you see in old movies, My breath caught when I noticed the latch was ajar. I could almost feel the weight of secrets inside, heavy and pulsing with the promise of revelation. With hesitant steps, I moved towards it. My heart raced, mixing fear and excitement as I wondered what I might find. Maybe it held clues about Andrew, something from the past, a piece of the puzzle I desperately needed. I knelt beside it, reaching for the latch, but my hand trembled. Just open it, I urged myself, fighting the urge to back down. And then I lifted the lid. A rush of stale air hit me as the trunk creaked open. Inside, I found a mix of old letters, tattered clothes, and a small, cracked mirror. Embedded in the reflection was an image that made my insides twist, an outline of what appeared to be a child. "Help us find him," echoed the whispers again. I felt cold suddenly, like a winter chill had seeped into my bones. Was it Andrew's spirit? Had he been trapped here all along, lost like the boy in the shadows? I studied the mirror, hoping it would show me something more. Just then, a shadow darted behind me, quick and silent. Panic twisted in my gut as I turned, expecting to find the boy standing there. But the attic was empty. My breath quickened, and I scanned the room, feeling the walls close in. "Mom?" I called out, nervously licking my lips. I could barely keep my fear contained, not knowing what might happen next. The child had mentioned a game. What if I was caught in one that had no way out? The trunk caught my eye again. I leaned deeper into it, fingers brushing against old letters that spilled out like secrets waiting to be told. One was yellowed and worn, and as I unfolded it, I felt an unexpected warmth radiate from it. "Andrew," I whispered, reading the familiar scrawl. My heart raced as memories surged back, hiding in the attic, playing make-believe, and the last time I'd seen him before everything changed. The letter told a story of friendship, hurt, and a promise that we never got to keep. Then I realized I was not just uncovering my past. I was rewriting it. But before I could process this, a cold breeze swept through the attic, snatching the letter from my hands. It fluttered up and away, merging with the shadows. "Come back," I shouted, scrambling to my feet. The urgency clawed at me as I chased after it, only for the space to twist and contort again. "Mom!" I yelled again, desperate now. That S when I saw it, a figure emerging from the shadows, silhouetted against the fading light. I felt a jolt of fear and recognition. It was another child, not the boy I had seen before, but someone equally lost. "Help us." The voice was soft, pleading, and I froze. Was this another game? Another test? Or was Andrew closer than I thought? My heart raced, and I instinctively took a step back, but the shadows pressed in, urging me forward. I had to choose. Chapter 6. I couldn't breathe. The child's voice echoed in my mind, wrapping around me like a vine. "Help us." Something deep inside stirred, a mix of compassion and fear. Who was this child? Why was I drawn to them? Then the shadows shifted again, revealing more details. The child looked familiar. Their hair was tousled and unkempt, their eyes wide and glistening. I felt a pang in my chest. I had seen those eyes before, felt the same fear in my own. "Are you?" I hesitated. My voice wavered. "Are you Andrew?" The child shook their head slowly, mouth tightening as if trying to speak but unable to find the words. I could see their small hands were trembling. "You have to find him." The urgency in their whisper sent shivers through me. "Find who? You mean Andrew?" I asked. Confusion washed over me as I searched their face for answers. "Where is he?" "Lost," they said, their voice barely above a whisper. "Beyond the door." They pointed shakily to a heavy trapdoor in the corner of the attic that I hadn't noticed before. Something about it felt wrong, like it was a gateway to secrets I wasn't prepared to face. The laughter resonated again, louder this time, mocking and sinister. I felt a twist of betrayal. Why was Andrew not coming to me? Why was this child here instead? I took a step toward the trapdoor, compelled and terrified all at once. "What's behind there?" I asked, looking back at the child. Their eyes grew wide with panic. "Dark." The words slipped through their lips, thick with dread. "Stay away." But the urge to know overwhelmed me. I was so close to understanding the truth about Andrew, and I couldn't turn back now. I marched to the trapdoor, my heart pounding in my ears, drowning out the whispers that begged me to stop. As I reached for the handle, the attic shook, and the shadows thickened, swirling around me like a storm. Panic gripped my throat. What's happening? I shouted into the blackness. Don't! The child cried, urgency flooding their voice. It's a trap. But it was too late. I flung the door open, and it creaked beneath the weight of my decision. A gust of wind whooshed up from the dark abyss, pulling me closer. I staggered back, nearly losing my balance. Inside, I could barely make out shapes. Items had floated down, swirling in a chaotic dance, and I could hear faint echoes crying, laughter, whispers that all blurred together. I felt myself teetering on the edge of sanity, as the edges of the reality I once knew slipped away. Then I remembered the mirror in the trunk. The child's face melded with another fleeting image. Andrew's laughter, high and carefree. My heart raced with a wave of determination. I couldn't leave it like this, trapped in the dark. Where's Andrew? I called out. Where is he? The shadows retreated, and I lost sight of the child. Suddenly, everything went cold, and the air crackled with electricity. The world around me faded, and I was enveloped in a darkness deeper than any I had ever known. What awaited me on the other side? The only thing I was sure of was the echo of their plea, help us. As I stepped into the void, I knew I was either going to find Andrew or lose myself completely. The void swallowed me whole. My heart pounded as I fell into an abyss, surrounded by darkness. I braced for impact, but instead, I found myself standing on solid ground, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding me. It was disorienting. The fog of shadows drifted away, revealing a dimly lit space that felt unnaturally familiar. The air was dense, thick with the weight of countless memories. I stood in an attic, but it wasn't the one I knew. The walls were lined with old photographs and yellowed letters, just as the last one had been. A chill ran through me as I noticed a dusty toy box in the corner, the lid already cracked open. I approached it hesitantly, each footfall echoing louder than the last. I dared to look inside, my breath hitching as I found the same blue toy car, the one I had recognized earlier. Andrew? I whispered, my voice trembling. Are you here? Suddenly, a soft giggle erupted from the shadows, sending a shiver down my spine. Eyes darted around, scanning the corners of this strange attic, but I sensed I wasn't alone. He's close, a voice murmured, one that sent an icy grip into my chest. Who's there? I demanded, clenching my fists, adrenaline coursing through me. The voice was familiar, a small, frightened child lost in the dark. He's hiding. You have to help him, the voice urged, growing more insistent. Andrew, I shouted, filled with a mix of desperation and hope. Is that you? The shadows coiled around my feet, shifting, and then I saw him, a small figure peeking out from behind a stack of boxes. Help me, he whimpered, his eyes wide with fear. I stepped forward, my heart aching for him. I'm here. I'll help you. But Andrew recoiled, retreating into the darkness that embraced him like a cloak. No, you can't come closer. I hesitated, suddenly feeling the weight of his fear. It was a fear that spread through the very walls of this prison-like attic, suffocating and stifled. Why not? Pleaded. Why are you hiding from me? I'm not supposed to be here, he cried, the weight of his words echoing in the silence. It's dangerous. Dangerous? What is dangerous? I pressed, anxiety bubbling in my chest. The laughter twisted into something dark, and the space began to darken again. They'll come for you, he warned, voice trembling. You need to leave me. No, I can't, I insisted, each syllable felt like a promise. I want to leave you. Then you'll be trapped here forever. The shadows swirled more rapidly, the laughter shifting into cries, a cacophony of lost souls. Panic surged within me, driving me to the brink. Where do I find you? How do I save you? In an instant, the attic transformed. The corners of my vision fluttered as if I was witnessing a spectral play. Images flashed. Children playing, laughter exchanged, and then an explosion of darkness that swallowed the joy. My breath quickened as I realized I was witnessing Andrew's past, the moments before everything turned. What happened? I screamed, desperation lacing my voice. The echoes swirled, filling the air with a feeling of dread and loss. You have to choose. The child's voice rang out, sharp and insistent. What do you mean, choose? To rescue him or to run? The shadows coalesced into a swirling mass, the laughter blending with wails, threatening to pull me into their depths. My heart raced. I want to leave you. I cried again, inching closer to the figure that had begun to dissolve into the darkness. Please, find me, Andrew called, his voice fading like a distant memory. In that crucial moment, I realized there was no way to outrun it. The history of fear and shadows wouldn't let me escape with Andrew's spirit without fighting my own demons. Then I will face it, I declared, heart aflame with resolution. I will find a way to bring you back. The shadows pulsed, the laughter turned into jubilant cheers, and the darkness receded slightly, as if sensing my determination. I moved with intent, willing to confront whatever lurked in this eerie realm. Together then, I whispered, face set with courage. I will save you, Andrew. But beneath my brave facade, I knew there were still questions left unanswered. What would I really find when I reached him? Would I emerge unharmed? Or would I too become lost in this world of shadows forever? As my resolve solidified, I felt a light pushing against the obscurity, guiding me forward. I took my first step toward the truth enveloped within the shadows, knowing that the journey had only just begun.